Ooh, what's up, Enterprise? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clever.
And this is our spoiler chat for Numero Dos, the second episode of Strange New Worlds. This one's called Children of the Comet. Kind of. No, it is. But we get Nerdy Nightly,
and we thought we'd share it with you.
That is right. Our neighbor started playing music, so we don't want to get demonetized. This is another fantastic episode of the show.
Yeah.
I like this.
I really like it so far. I love that it feels, I don't know, like fresh is such a like weird adjective, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different and revitalized and new and it also feels like they took the really good elements of Trek and are only taking those along with them as opposed to, some of the like not so great stuff about Trek.
Yeah, I think the only negative I have about the show so far is that it's a prequel where the technology seems ahead of the thing that it's a prequel to.
Yeah, which I think is a valid criticism.
It's just something I need to get past.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing with the storytelling on the show is telling a hopeful, collaborative team mission story that is exactly what I love about the original Treks.
Yes. Yeah, it's about everybody working together and everyone knowing where their strengths are. And, that not just the captain being like, do this, you do that, you do that. It's him asking for input and using his team to the best of their abilities, which is so much fun.
And them throwing out ideas and playing off of each other. And there's no
dynamic where it's like, no, you can't share, right?
Yeah, there's also there's no one who seems to be trying to use their skills to get ahead. It's not a dynamic of people who are like, no, I want to be the one who solves it, not you.
Yeah.
That was my idea. They throw out ideas, they work together, and they're a team. And they believe in each other. And this episode is about Cadet Uhura, and she is a cadet. She's going on her first away mission, and she gets her first assignment.
Yeah.
And she's getting ribbed a little bit. This starts with them going to the captain's dinner, and they tell her that she's got to be in her, her best.
They suggest she brings out the dress uniform, which of course she does. She's like, okay, well, I want to make a good impression. And
Ortegas, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters on the show.
I love her.
I like her a lot.
Yeah.
We'll get to my favorite moment of her later in the episode, but she's got her belly button out. I was a little bit like, are you going to the captain's dinner?
Yeah, she's like, I don't care.
And I
want.
I thought it was a little weird until we got just that her belly button was out. I didn't mind that she was in casual clothes.
Yeah.
I was just like, you're midriff. But then we get
That's her style.
The door opens and Kirk's there in his and I was like, oh no, he expects
in an apron,
but he expects people to show up in their clothing. He is welcoming to their style. And what I think that this says about Pike, I think I said Kirk, but what I think it says about Pike that I'm really liking about the show right now is that he's a captain who is decisively in command. No one doubts him. No one questions him.
Yeah.
And he does that by having this dinner where it is very casual and very intentionally casual. And then on the flip side, he has set this boundary where work time is work time.
Yeah.
And he does that in a way where I think that it invites personal style into the crew, but it also has this expectation of professionalism when it's work time.
Yeah.
And his crew shows up for him because of that. And Anson Mount is just playing Pike as this the perfect kind of leader that you want at the helm of your ship.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so charismatic and he's attentive, right? And he doesn't feel like he's superior, right? He doesn't really talk down to people. Sometimes he's a little snippy with the other species that they hail. He a little bit.
He makes a couple jokes.
Yeah, but in a way that it's fun. I think it brings personality to it, right?
And it makes him different from Kirk.
Yeah.
He's a strong, charming, leading captain who feels distinct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I really like how he's portraying Pike. I keep wanting, Kirk and Pike are just very close.
Well, and there's
English
a Kirk
words.
on the ship,
Yeah,
which doesn't help. But it's not James Kirk, it's George Kirk.
James and George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sam Kirk, but Everyone calls he's George Samuel, but everyone calls him Sam.
Yeah, that's fair.
So one of the fun things at the beginning of this episode is that we meet the new, probably not new, but new to us, the chief engineer, who is Hemmer, who is Einar, which is he's an albino Andorran who's almost completely blind but has like slight telepathic abilities.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah.
Very cool. His CGI, or probably not CGI, I think that's practical, looks freaking dope.
Yeah.
I love his design so much. And this first scene that he has with Uhura while he's chopping vegetables was great.
Yeah. And when Spock chimes in to like, you know, Uhura's like, oh, I've heard that you have this slight telepathic ability, you know, whatever. And he's like,
I knew you were going to
ask that. Because you could tell. No, because everybody asked me that. And then Spock comes in and kind of like proves her point about the telepathic abilities. And it was just a fun little way to show both that he's like, yeah, everybody always asks me this, but it is true. Like confirming, and because if this is your first introduction to Trek, you're starting to learn the species, right? You might, if this is the first thing you're seeing, you're like, oh, well, I don't know if he says he has telepathic abilities. It's doing a good job of keeping it like joking and like fun, but also giving you the information.
Well, and this really is Uhura's episode, which I hope they keep doing with different crew members. Like, I hope we get kind of because I like that she got the captain's log at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, because, you know, I don't need every captain's log to be Pike. I like, let's bounce around. Let's really dive into this crew. Let's make this about everybody. And in showing off Uhura's moment here, where she speaks the Andorran language to him, and that he's like, oh, okay, I can take you seriously.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we had talked last week about how she seemed so fun and bubbly, and she had this nerdy energy that we really liked about her. She backs that up. She's not just that. She's also gifted in a way that betrays the skill that got her to the post that she's in.
Yeah, she knows 37 languages, I think it was.
Yeah.
Wild. I think someone was like, I heard you know 12 languages.
Yeah,
She's
Pike
like,
did.
37.
She's like, I don't want to brag. And then the whole room Everyone's stops.
Like, wow.
And we get into her backstory, that she wanted to go to university in I think Kenya, and her parents died, and her
Nairobi University.
Her brother died.
Yeah.
And I love this for her. And not for like that her parents died.
I know, yeah.
But I love the idea and the way they've crafted this character who is reeling and really behaving from a place of experiencing this extreme trauma, but has not lost the joy and kindness that probably made her from a young age.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that we often tell stories about people who experience trauma and then become
colder or closed off.
These hard-shelled humans. And I think this version of Uhura, who is almost covering her trauma with this bubbly spirit and is still able to feel joy, I find really fascinating. And it made her different, and it made her a character who, once I kind of realized, oh, this episode is really going to be about her journey throughout this episode, I was so attached to her because of this monologue and just the way that Celia Rose Gooding is playing the character. I think she's fantastic.
She's amazing. Yeah. And the moment that I think is pivotal is when Kirk is like Pike is asking, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she makes fun of it, right? And she's like, well, I don't actually really know if like Starfleet is it for me. I'm kind of just here because
I'm really good.
Because it's what I can do really well. And I can't imagine how shocking that would be to like almost anyone on the ship, right? And Spock talks about it. He says, this is a dream come true for so many people, including myself. And, you know, like, you definitely need to ask yourself, should you be here, or should somebody else who actually wants to be here be here? That's a deep question, because she earned her place there, no doubt. Right? She was selected over however many hundreds or thousands of applicants.
Yeah.
But it's not like she was a little girl dreaming of being in Starfleet, which a lot of people...
The way that Spock was. Just a little girl dreaming of Starfleet.
Exactly.
So, wow, we're 10 minutes in and we have not gotten past the first scene.
It's a good scene.
The plot of this episode is that there's a comet that's headed for the planet that is wildly inhabited with millions of people. And the crew is like, all right, well, that comet's going to destroy that planet.
Yeah, and they don't even know it.
Need to move it. So they try and move it, but it's got a force field.
Yeah.
So they beam down.
Yeah.
And then Kirk, he may not be James Tiberius Kirk, but he's still a Kirk.
He's still a Kirk, and he goes up and he touches the big egg, which then, like, stops his heart.
Yeah. He gets electric shocked by the egg. He's a Kirk.
He is, yeah.
And Kirks do be Kirkin.
Through and through.
Kirks do be Kirkin.
That's a t-shirt.
And so this leads to the force field being up permanently. They can't beam off anymore. Everyone on the ship is super confused. So they're like, well, let's try and... I really like this. Ortega is like, we could harmonize with a pulse the shield and it will destroy the shield. And I was like, that sounds rad.
Sure.
It doesn't work, but it sounds rad.
So, yeah. And so these aliens show up. These, like...
But they get shot. They're like, where did that come from? The massive...
It's those guys, right?
The starship that's 3 times the size of our starship that we didn't notice?
Yeah. Yeah.
This was the only part of the episode that I was like, you didn't notice the giant...
No.
Super advanced starship?
Busy, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So
so that starship, they hail that starship, and Anson Mount gets to be all charming. I like. There's a moment where he like turns to number 1, and he's like, "I love this job," and I was like, "Yeah, I love this show." And he's like, "Hey," and they're like, "We're the Shepherds," and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "I love this moment because the communications officer is like, that's the universal translator. That's what it translates.
That's what it's saying."
And I feel like these shows so often skip over the fact that all these people are not speaking the same language.
Yes. They say universal translator once and you just believe.
But I like this moment of these characters interacting about some of the flaws in a system like that and how not everything can be perfectly translated.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really smart addition to the show.
Yeah. It set up the fact that it exists really well, which is good for, especially if you're new. I mentioned that earlier before. It what's good, right? I'm watching this track, and there's something in the back of my head that's watching this to see if someone were to say, hey, I'm thinking about getting into Star Trek, if I would recommend the show. And I think that it's super important that things are established, even if people who've already seen all of it before already know, there's always going to be somebody new who tunes in and is like, well, I want to find something new to love. So,
and I think the first episode really introduced the philosophy of Trek really well. And this episode is introducing a lot of the mechanics of Trek by using Uhura's first away mission and her being a cadet and her being new to ship life to introduce the elements of the ship through her to the audience. So because you can't do that through Pike, right? Pike's been on Discovery, he's been a captain for years. He can't be the eyes of new audience members. But I think that they're doing a good job in the disparity between those two characters, in that Pike is the eyes of the fandom that has been with these shows for a long time and knows them really well, and Uhura is being the eyes of the new people coming in.
Yes.
And how those two are blending together, I think, is being really well done for a show. That can be a really hard line to walk. How do you make something for both? And I feel like this show is doing that really well.
Yeah, I agree. So we find out that the aliens are basically protecting the comet, which is, it's not a comet, it's potentially
an ancient thing.
Sentient ancient prophet.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. They're like, if I can't even remember what it's called now. I don't know if the name
Manihet or Manahit?
Mahanit. They're like, well, if Mahanit wants to run into the planet, then he will, and you're not allowed to do anything about it. Because I guess
is like, that's nature. That's like the way the universe works sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
if the asteroid hadn't killed the dinosaurs, we wouldn't be here. But I'm just saying, the circle of life, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills sometimes.
Okay.
It just does.
Yeah.
So no, I'm just saying their point of view is understandable.
Yeah,
look, our job is only to make sure that this thing does what it does.
Yeah, they have like a very strong like faith-based belief in this thing that it will do what it needs to do, and that it is sacred, and that it can't be like they will fight anyone who decides to like touch or harm or alter it in any way. And they're already upset that the boarding party is down there.
This will be there too.
They're gonna die there.
So then that boarding party, they're looking at these symbols, and before Sam Kirk got electroshocked, he went you are gonna figure this out. And then Spock goes, you're gonna figure this out. And then what is her name? Noonien Singh is like, yeah, you're gonna figure this out. And she's like, okay, I get it. I'm gonna figure this out. So she's looking at this repeating symbols. And she starts to hum.
Spock gives a really good pep talk.
The second one.
The second one, yeah. I want to point that, like, Spock, well done.
He gets it the second time.
Good job.
He takes notes.
Yes.
She starts to sing, and it, like, lights up, and she's like, okay, so now we need to harmonize. And so Noonien Singh refuses, but Spock and Uhura sing to the alien egg that's about to kill millions of people.
Egg? I don't know, but it's a rounded egg-shaped object.
And it lights up like the 4th of July, and the shield goes down. They get pulled back to the ship, and Kirk's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Thank God, because, you know, it's not like there's another one waiting in the wings. And...
Let me in, coach.
And we get to kind of like the back half of the episode, which is that they need a plan to alter the course of the comet. And the way they're going to do that is by using heat to melt ice off of a section of the comet so that it diverts course.
Yes. So when they transport their people back, the aliens attack because they wanted them to die there, I guess. So we get some really cool piloting.
Yeah, Ortegas creates the Ortegas maneuver and names it after herself. And I'm like, rad.
Love it.
Why not?
I love it.
Name it after yourself. That's awesome.
And so they plant themselves right in front of Mahoney, so the ship can't fire at them anymore without risk of hitting this big.
And simultaneously, they've dropped Spock off.
Yeah, Spock somehow escaped.
This was a little confusing, right? And I don't know if it was because we were doing other things while we watched this. I missed them planning this or him leaving.
I don't think they planned it, but yeah, I don't know if we missed it somehow. We like looked away at the wrong moment, but yeah, there is a little shuttle that's like waiting with Spock in it. That apparently
can like radiate so much heat off of its shields that it can cut off a planet-sized chunk of an asteroid.
Yeah.
I was fine with it. I was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah,
It wasn't as cool as the pulse harmony thing earlier, but it was fun.
I love musical episodes. I'm always here for like.
And throughout the whole episode, we get everyone telling Spock that sometimes things just go so wrong that you have to laugh. And so Spock does his little dipsy-do. He flies through. He almost crashes, and we hear a little chuckle.
We hear him laugh on the call.
Yeah, Ethan Peck gets to giggle a little bit, and it's cute.
It is, yeah, it is very.
He's doing a great job. I think Ethan Peck. I think Spock is probably the hardest character to have to bring back. Leonard Nimoy's legacy is so massive, and you know, I think that his passing isn't, you know, hyper recent, but it's recent enough, and I think that it lives in a lot of Trek fans' heads, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's still there, and so I think that playing that character right now cannot be the easiest thing. There's a lot of expectation put upon you, and I think, honestly, he's doing a really good job. I like the character a lot. I don't know as much about his role in Discovery. We haven't seen those episodes.
Yeah.
But I think that in terms of his portrayal in this show, may be helped by the fact that he's had 2 seasons of Discovery, I think, to, like, hone that. I think he's doing an awesome job, and I like his version of Spock. I like the way that he speaks. I think that his, like, tenor of his voice is right. And the way that he interacts with the crew right now is really fun. It's going to be fun to watch him grow into the Spock who's a little bit more able to communicate than this.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's like a weak link in terms of casting in the show. I think everybody's fantastic.
I like Chapel. I like the girl playing Chapel a lot. I didn't realize that was Christine Chapel from the original series in the first episode.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, but now I'm like, oh, it is. Like, so that's fun. I think Jess Bush is doing a great job as Chapel. Yeah,
very, very well done. And I'm excited to get to know more of all the individual characters more. Obviously, this is only episode 2, and we kind of had like a POV Uhura episode. So I think that a lot of this series is going to be more so crew focused than just purely like from the captain's perspective, which I like. I like that, and I like that everyone feels like they have a part to play and that they have their strengths.
It really is the closest thing to the Next Generation that I've seen from Trek in a long time.
Yeah.
It really is to me. I haven't seen very much Enterprise, and I haven't seen very much Deep Space Nine. But, you know, the movies didn't do collaboration in the same way that I think the shows do, just because of the narrative style.
Yeah.
And there's something about it that it just feels like the Star Trek I watched as a kid, and I love that.
Yeah. It is hard to make ensemble movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, the way storytelling works in a shorter form, like 90 minutes, you can only connect with so many people on, like, a deeper level, which is why it's nice having these shows, because it allows the time for that. So.
Yeah, so they shave off that ice, they get Spock back, they turn their ship back on, everything works out in the end, and we learn that the Comet can see the future.
Yeah, the Comet...
And send messages about the fact that it can see the future.
Yeah, the comics sent a message to them recalling that it was on course for the planet, but that it knew it wouldn't hit it, and it also sent them an image of the piece of ice that Spock broke off.
Yeah. Wild.
Exactly.
Wild.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It's a little out there. I'm here for it. I thought it was well
Kirk
done.
Yell at God, within Star Trek,
like Q exists. I don't mind it. It's just it's just silly saying it out loud for exactly what it is.
Yeah, but the thing I love about Star Trek is that it's like, in the infinite possibility of the universe, this exists, and I'm like, sure. In the infinite possibility of the universe, maybe it does, and that would be awesome, and I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm really into the show. I like it a lot. I think this is one that I'm so excited for every week now, which is funny because we actually forgot that yesterday was Thursday, and so we watched it on Friday. But
it's been a week.
We also forgot about Halo yesterday, so we'll get to that at some point.
We'll get Halo up this weekend. Nobody's holding their breath for the ending of that show.
No. People are holding their breath for the ending of that show. Because they'd rather it just didn't exist anymore.
You know what? Yeah.
I'm hopeful. There's 2 more episodes. Maybe they're gonna stick the landing. Maybe they're gonna it'll all come together in a way that makes sense for the audience. I hope. But if you want to come back for the Halo video, that'll be tomorrow. I hope that you liked our thoughts on this episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, that's totally fine. Leave a comment down below that is mean, because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. You can also follow us around the internet. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
And I just realized I've been wearing a Star Wars shirt for this video. Do something nerdy tonight, Noel.
Bye.
Bye.